What a great kick.
Oh, and Chad Townsend plays on. Plays to the whistle. Kicks away for Valentine Holmes. Cronulla's in again.
Wow.
Chad Townsend, brilliant.
Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of the Town podcast. My name is Chad Townsend. I will be your host, and today, doing the podcast one out at home in isolation. The season has officially been suspended. Yes, a dramatic set of circumstances happened this week. Chairman of the ARL Commission, Peter V'landys, and NRL CEO Todd Greenberg announced that the NRL season is suspended until further notice, with no current date on return. Which, when I first found out the news, I was a little bit numb. Actually, I was obviously devastated. Obviously as players, we've trained so hard throughout the summer to be ready to play this season, but then the knock-on effect that it creates throughout our whole rugby league community. You know, you just think about the amount of jobs that rugby league creates for a lot of families, a lot of people, the money it generates in the economy. It's absolutely devastating. So for me and my family, I want to send out a big, I guess, cheerio to you and your family. I hope that you guys are hanging in there, hanging tough. Just make sure that, we're all following the guidelines about what's going on at the moment, and staying safe. I hope that you guys are staying safe, and your health and, your health is the most important thing at the moment, like all of us is. So, it's devastating that we can't move on. There's current meetings going on between the RLPA and the NRL to find out the extent of exactly how this impacts everybody. A lot of people have been talking about, I guess, pay cuts around players, but still we don't understand or know what the extent of the damage that is done right now. From what I understand, there is some worst case scenarios getting thrown about. There's some best case scenarios. So, like I said, we don't know when we're going to be back playing. And when we do know, I guess that'll put things in perspective about, money and all that sort of stuff, which really, we're not really, well, I'm not really thinking about at the moment. It's more about, I try and focus on the things that I can control throughout my whole entire life. And I think it's a good time for you guys out there who are potentially listening. It's a great mantra, and I would urge you to use it moving forward. And I'll say it again, it's to focus on the things that you can control. So obviously this coronavirus, which is crazy, a worldwide global pandemic, something that we living right now never thought that we would see. And the things that I can control right now are obviously my self-isolation, following the rules implemented by the government, staying that 1 to 1.5 meter radius away from people, coughing into your elbow, washing your hands regularly. Like, they're the things that I can control, but I can't control what other people do. I can control what my family does and how we approach this, and we really want to stick together and stay tight and follow the rules. And I really hope that everyone out there is respecting these rules, because as Australians, we are quite relaxed. We are, she'll be right sort of attitude. And that's just kind of been bred into us, I guess, from a young age. And that's a part of our history. But it's really now time for us all to do our bit and stick together, because we're all going to go through some tough times, but we can all get through this if we follow the rules and do the right thing. We just don't want what's happening in the Northern Hemisphere around Italy to happen to us in Australia. And I'm no medical expert, but I respect what the medical experts say, and I urge people to follow, the instructions that is put in place. So that's what we'll be doing at home right now. Today is the first day at home, I guess, after the suspension has happened, and my day so far has consisted of, I woke up this morning, got the kids up, we had breakfast. Actually, before that, they came into our bed and had a bit of a lay bit of a muck around in the bed, and then came down, had some breakfast, and then after that, I actually did a training session. So yesterday we had our last, I guess, official club meeting or break where we found out exactly what was going on, that we'd be off training. We're still waiting to hear if the NRL will allow us to go into the gym in small groups and still continue to train. But we have also put in place measures that if that's not possible for us to train at home. So I do have a bit of a home workout at the moment in the garage, got some weights, got some dumbbells. You can check it out on the vlog on YouTube, my session that I did. And at the moment, it's about staying consistent on what we've done over the summer. Like, we're in peak physical condition at the moment. And by that, I mean, we've worked so hard over the preseason to get ready to play games, and now it's time to play games physically. You know, we can't lose that fitness. So for me, it's about staying consistent. And by that, I mean making a routine, every day that involves training and involves, you know, particularly certain other things that I might not have had at the time if I was at training to do. So I want to make a priority of myself training, following a training schedule, following routine, spending time on things that are going to help me get better as a person, personal development, reading books, listening to podcasts, recording vlogs, providing you guys some content potentially that you can get some value out of. And these are all hobbies of mine, but I want to make sure that I stay fit. And also, like I said before at the start, following the rules of the isolation, making sure that I respect what's going on and just doing my bit, which I hope that everyone else is doing at the moment. So I'm glad that I quickly touched on that. I did do a Q&A on my story, and I did want to jump into that straight after I touched on the introduction there. But I'm going to jump into the questions right now, and the first one is from Will Schofield. What are your thoughts on the suspension of the NRL? Yeah, well, look, Will, I touched on it at the start. I'm obviously devastated that we can't continue to play. It's rugby league is our whole lives as athletes and as rugby league players. It's all we do. It's all we train for. We live and breathe rugby league. So, I'm devastated. I'm devastated for the players. I'm devastated for the fans. I'm devastated for everyone. But like I said, we can get through this if we stick together and we come up with some solutions as a game. And we're working towards those efforts. Next question is from Tom Patterson, 18. Hey, Chatty, who's the biggest pest you've played with? Yeah, look, Tom, there's definitely a few. I'll probably say the biggest pest I've ever played with is James Maloney. I've roomed with Jimmy quite a number of times, and it's an experience, I'll tell you that. I rate myself as someone who's pretty clean and pretty organised, and Jimmy is definitely someone who's not clean and not organised. The first time I roomed with Jimmy, I'll give you a little story. It was about 10 o'clock. We're in North Queensland. We were playing the Cowboys round 1, 2016. And I said to Jimmy, I'm going to go to bed right now. And he was on the phone to his wife. And anyway, turned off the lights and the TV was still on. And anyway, he's like laughing to his wife, what's going on, like everything. And then I rolled over, so I'm facing the other wall. And then all of a sudden, I hear Jimmy say, hold on a sec, doll. And there was a bit of silence. And then he put the phone to his backside and farted into the phone. Then he brought the phone back to his head and just started, ah! And I rolled over and I looked at him and I was like, are you serious? And he just started pissing himself laughing. Mate, he's an absolute classic. I reckon I showered probably 4 times. Brushed my teeth twice a day, and I don't think he showered once, and I didn't see him brush his teeth. Roomed with him for 2 years. By the end of it, I was happy to get another roomie. So a little story on Jimmy. I love Jimmy though, Tommy. He's a great bloke and a legend. Next question is from Big Jados, 89. Do clubs give good mental health support to players that get injured and have a long road ahead? Yeah, look, a great question, Jados. Every single club has 2 wellbeing managers. So we have a wellbeing manager who looks after some of the younger players and a wellbeing manager who looks after some of the older players, and they're employed by the NRL, and they do such a tremendous job. Make sure that, we all across facilities and services that are available, counselling, mental health support, talking to the right people, asking the right questions. And then also they help with things like time away from football, studying courses. They help enrollments and things like that, process things like that. So for guys with injuries, they definitely do help. It's obviously a long road ahead for some of these boys who sustain those injuries. So, they need all the help they can get, but they definitely do receive that. Next question is from Chile Willie 4. What can we take out of the first 2 games? Yeah, look, some pretty disappointing results for us. Obviously, we lost to Souths, by 4 points, lost to Melbourne by 2 points. So, really, really difficult. We scored the same amount of tries as the opposition in both games. South scored 3 tries, we scored 3 tries. Melbourne scored 3 tries, we scored 3 tries. But they just kicked more penalty goals than us. And, that's an area where we need to improve. We need to be more disciplined. We need to improve our attack. Our attack has been a little bit off. I don't think we're all up to some of the standards that we've set for ourselves. So we've definitely got a lot to work on. But at the moment, we're not really focused on that. We're kind of focused on everything else that's going on. But I can't wait to one day, get back to talking some footy. Next question is from Jenko. What things do you do to grow and develop your mindset as a professional athlete? Yeah, look, Jenk's a great question. Mindset as a professional athlete is so important, and this year we've done a lot more work on it than in previous years. John Morris has made a note of it to bring in a mindset coach for our team, and it is funny that I touched on this at the top of the episode, but one of the main things that we've spoken about is to focus on the things that you can control. And I don't want to bore you guys or make you get sick of that phrase, but it is so important because as an athlete, you cannot focus on the things you can't control. So if I've played a game, right, and I've played an outstanding game, and this commentator has said Chad Townsend has had an amazing game, he's played such a good game, blah, blah, blah. The next week, I don't play that well and I play a poor game. That same commentator is going to say Chad Townsend had a terrible game today. He didn't do this, he didn't do that. And I can't control what this person says. I literally can't. And the same person that will say something good about you will say something bad about you. The same person who will direct message me and have a go at me on Instagram because I've played a bad game has probably messaged me as well and said I've had a good game. So the things that I can control are what's happening in the future. I can't control the past. I can control my attitude, how I turn up to training, my work ethic, how I am as an athlete, what time I turn up to training. All those things, they're the things that I try and focus on. And that's something that our mindset coach has really been pushing on to us because we can alter the outcomes of the things that we can control. So I can't control a lot of those things that I just mentioned, but the things I do control, that's super important to focus on those things because they're the things that are going to get you ahead in life. And that's something that we've really worked on this year as a team. Next question is from Maximus Good 23. What's it going to be like without footy for a while? Yeah, look, Maximus, it's going to be extremely different. Like I said, we play footy our whole lives and we should be playing right now. And the fact that we're not, it's devastating for all of us. We've got to hang tight, but definitely different circumstances right now. A lot of training at home, a lot of time at home, a lot more time than I would usually have. So it's important to stay on task and do everything I can to make sure that I'm ready to go when we do return. Next question is from Gilso88. Best story from the 2016 Grand Final after party. Yeah, look, Gilso, I don't want to go into too much about this because I'd love to record a podcast, especially for the 2016 Grand Final. But maybe just a sneaky one was the fact that we were crowd surfing in Northies. I never thought that I'd be in a position to crowd surf in all these people just everywhere. But like I said, I'm going to record a full podcast on this one. So Gil, so make sure you stay tuned. Next question is from N Dingell 1. What do you think about players not finishing their full contracts? Yeah, look, this gets brought up quite often, Dingell, and I think there's two sides to these stories because people are quickly jump on players the fact that they want to leave clubs and change clubs, and obviously break their contracts. But there's also times where a club will want a player out and will want them to break their contract. So it happens both ways. And at the end of the day, it's business. It's a business decision. Every decision in the NRL is based on business because professional sport, it's about business. And some of the decisions, they might seem unfair. Your favourite player might be changing teams for some sort of reason, but it's a business decision. And the clubs and the players have to put their own interests first because they've got to look after themselves and what's best for their own business. The players operate as their own personal business and the teams operate as their own business. So I can understand from a fan's point of view why this might be difficult to comprehend, but if I could put some perspective out there, you've just got to understand that it's a business and everyone's trying to look after themselves as best they can. Next question is from Wado93. How do you get over a loss? As a Sharks fan, I am always so gutted when the boys lose. Yeah, look, Wado, losses are extremely difficult. As players, we play the game to win. Like, if there's a warm-up game, you're playing to win. If there's a board game, you're playing to win. If there's a card game, you're playing to win. If there's any type of game where it's competing, myself, the boys, every single athlete, they're playing to win. Like, we play NRL games to win. So it's devastating. After a loss, the change room it's quite somber, a lot of disappointment, and it takes a few days to get over. It is really difficult. But after a few days, once you have a look at the video and then you identify areas where you need to improve, the mood starts to change a bit. Then you start to focus on the next week. But Wado, it is very difficult. Next question from Stephanie Jordan. How do you try and stay positive while all these negative things are happening around us? Great question, Steph. And I'm going to go back to the focusing on things that I can control because it is basically all I can do right now because I can't control what's happening in this global pandemic. All I can control is my attitude about it all and what I do personally. And I would urge everyone out there to do the same. What can you control right now? Like, have a good, hard look at yourself and your situation and don't worry about the things you can't control, but worry about the things you can control. How can you change the outcomes of those things? And like I said, I live my life by that phrase. So I don't want to keep using it, but Steph, that's how I try and stay positive. Next question is from Brooksy Nat. Which Sharkies player was set to have a big 2020? Yeah, look, a great question, Brooksy. Look, I think if I could identify one person, I don't really like identifying single players too much, but maybe Blake Brayley. He was extremely impressive in the first two rounds and obviously, was going to be our starting hooker all season. So I'd have to say Blake Brayley, mate. Next question is from Harrison C. How are you going to spend the next few months? Yeah, look, Harrison, I'll be at home predominantly of the time. I'll be training. I'll be recording podcasts. I'll be listening to podcasts. I'll be reading books. I'll be hanging with my family, my daughter, my son, my wife. I'll be swimming in the pool in the backyard. I'll be staying active. I'll just trying to start a bit of a routine. And I think every night I plan to write down what I want to get done the next day. And that's going to hold me accountable for what I do. So I would urge you guys, if you find some time where you're off work or you're working from home, to try and write down some things that you can control and you can get done. So that way the next day you're accountable. You've written them down on a piece of paper And if you do that, you tick it off. And if you haven't done it, you write across and you become accountable for what you do. Next question is from J Mack. Do you think the Sharkies will survive? Yeah, look, J Mack, it's, I could only pray and hope that every NRL club survives. We really don't know the extent of the damage and what's going to actually happen with the clubs. It's obviously a lot of it's up in the air at the moment because of what's happening. We don't know when we're going to be returned, but I pray to God that every single NRL club survives because we need all 16 clubs, every single club to be a part of this great competition. Next question is from Azzy. How will you train at home? Yeah, look, I'll be doing a combination of weights, some cardio at home. So I've got a few weights at home. It's more about trying to make the most of the equipment I've got. Obviously, I don't have a big gym at home, but just some weights, some circuits. I've got a watt bike at home. Plan to do a bit of watt bike. I'm going to do some agility, going to head down the park by myself, obviously, as isolating, following those measures and do some running, some cardio because I need to get the kilometres in my legs. So just a combination of movement and staying consistent on it because, we just need to make sure that we stay in shape. Next question is from Tom Samet. What are your guilty pleasures? Yeah, look, I've got a few. My first and main one is probably ice cream. I love cookies and cream connoisseur, but I rarely eat it. I only eat it after games, so that's probably the only time I have it. And also hot chips. Like I love hot chips, but I rarely have them as well. They're probably my top two. Next question is from Jack Williams. What is doing while in ISO? Balling, weights, arms, 1,000 push-ups? Talk to me. Now, Jack Williams came on the podcast not that long ago. He spoke super well. You can check it out on the Talk of the Town. He speaks about his time, how he came into the NRL and also taken over Paul Gallen's jersey. But, yeah, well, look, while I'm in ISO, I obviously, like I said, a lot of training. I'll be definitely shooting some hoops at my house. A lot of you might know that I've got a basketball ring at home. I love my basketball. I love my NFL. So, shooting a few hoops, staying fit, staying ready. I know Jack will be doing a lot of weights. The big fella absolutely loves it. Next question is from Shears61. What would you be doing as a career if you weren't an NRL player? Yeah, look, Shears, that's an awesome question. I would be a professional athlete and I would be playing golf for a living. I love golf. I would love the chance to be able to play on tour, travel the world, see some amazing courses in some amazing countries. And obviously it's a single sport, so you're by yourself. You're really challenged mentally, so I would love that challenge. Next question is from Cooper B07. Who's your hardest competitor in the NRL? Yeah, look, a great question, Cooper. The hardest team challenge, it's probably the Storm as a team. We've had some great games against the Storm over the last few years. They're always one of our hardest competitors. The games are extremely tough. We go toe-to-toe every single game. They're always really tight and close. And then probably individual... that's probably someone like Josh Reynolds from the West Tigers. He's the ultimate competitor. He competes extremely hard. You just see how he plays, the fierceness with how he plays. He competes on everything, and I love that about Josh Reynolds. So I'd probably pick out him. Next question is from Spedding Ryan. What's your favourite book you've read so far? Yeah, look, I get asked this a lot. I get asked this from a lot of our younger players about books that I would recommend, and probably the one I recommend the most is called High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard, and it is awesome. It's just about creating some habits in your life to make you accountable. There's some really, really cool stuff. But then also there's some other books. Another one which is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I think that's how you say his name. But yeah, I love that book. One of the biggest takeaways I took from that book was learning to remember people's names. And a lot of us, we forget people's names so quickly. So of trying to make a point about trying to remember people's names and call them by their first names, because I find that that's super important. Next question is from Padrake Jones. Do you have a special try celebration? Yeah, look, I don't have a try celebration. I did a few years ago when it was trending when it was trending back then. I did dab. Looking back on it now, I was like, what are you doing, man? But, it was all a bit of fun. I feel that NRL try celebrations should be more prominent. I would love to see celebrations more often. But again, like in the Australian way of life, if you celebrate a try or you carry on a bit, like you get called a carry on or like a show off, where I don't know, I just feel like Australians, we're a humble bunch. We're all pretty humble. We don't really, let success get to our heads too much, otherwise potentially people would call NRL players arrogant, where at the end of the day, if players are doing try celebrations, man, they're having fun. Like if we did a try celebration at the Sharks after a try and we won the game, like I've got no doubt our Sharks fans would absolutely love it. Like you guys would be loving it. But the opposition, like they'd probably call us arrogant and, all sorts of names and things like that. So I think that's why players are potentially, not scared, but players don't do it because of the backlash that potentially they'll receive, where I would urge people to support it. I think it's a great way for our game to be put on the map, a bit more fun. Like I said, you see the NFL players, the celebrations they do, it's crazy. It's amazing. The fans love it. The teams love it. So, let's see what happens. Hopefully we can get back to playing some games sometime this year. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm going to wrap up this Q&A. I appreciate all you guys sending in the questions. The stuff that's going on right now, it's changing day to day. So I do plan to get out a few more podcasts while I've got a bit more time at home. If you guys would like to hear anything specifically, like I mentioned, I did want to touch on the 2016 stories around the premiership. I'm going to try and ring some of the boys and get them live on the hookup. That would be amazing if I could organise that. But like I said, this information that we're all receiving, it's changing day to day. We just don't know what's going to happen in the future. So for us, like I said, if there's one key takeaway out of this podcast, it's for you that if you're listening, whether you're in the car, whether you're at home, whether you got your headphones in, it's to focus on the things that you can control. What can you control right now? Do those things and do them to the best of your ability, because that's what I'll be doing. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time on the Talk of the Town. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the podcast as well. Bye.